My name is Manjul Sahay. I have the good opportunity to be in the same panel last year and talk about what we are doing in storage to help our customers who are building AI apps. So, coming back today with some more of exciting features and how we have helped some of the customers take advantage of these opportunities. So, when we talk to our AI customers, there are two kinds of customers. So, there are the enterprises which are building new AI apps, uh, a security camera company which trying to make sure the AI can now do person detection and pet detection, or maybe an automotive company which is trying to do the new kind of a self-driving um, application. So there's a degree of there's a set of enterprise companies, and of course there are new startups which are building new models, or in some cases going into inferencing. So we see both kind of customers. We have had some great wins for Google Cloud in both categories. What I will talk about is once we provide the best storage, networking, compute infrastructure for these customers, how do we help them manage from a storage point of view? In many cases of enterprise, even figuring out what data is available to get started with to take advantage is a challenge. So that's what I'll talk about, storage intelligence, which is the product for helping customers with managing storage at scale. So all these different AI customers, both the enterprise one as well as the new age startups, all of them have a lot of storage. And usually managing storage for security, for cost, and for operational efficiency is a huge thing for them. Many of these have small teams, very new teams, which are trying to move very fast and make it happen. And that's where they have a little bit of storage management issue. So let's talk about why is storage management a challenge for these customers. First, which I'm sure all of you will agree with, storage continues to grow. This is one service where the bytes keep increasing. Of course, we don't complain about it. That's great for us. The bytes continue to grow.
Yeah.
And with AI, there's a lot more of storage. One, there's a lot more of new data being brought in. Like for manufacturing defect detection, these are like high-res cameras taking pictures, at a very fast frequency, and all that lands up in cloud storage. Or in the other case, where the AI generated content is kind of getting created, images, videos, and of course, text. So all this is just accelerating the storage usage of customers. It's growing very fast. Now, the scale of object storage is where mostly customers by default store all this training data, the generated content. The scale of object storage makes the management tough. And what I talk about what's the scale? Let me build it out and show it. Many customers will have maybe thousands, tens of thousands of VMs, millions of Kubernetes pods, but they will very easily have billions of objects in cloud storage. Some cases, tens of billions, and we even seen trillion object customers. And all these are usually spread across multiple buckets, projects, and at least in case of AI companies, a very small set of developers or admins who are trying to manage all this and go very fast. And AI customers are increasingly multi-cloud as well. Many of them are looking for the latest GPU or availability of GPU, TPU across these cloud. So they have some data maybe in another clouds, a lot of data in Google Cloud. How do you manage across them? And when you combine these two, many of these customers end up trying to stitch together homegrown management tools like scripts and make it work, put it in a database. How do you make it all happen? And then in our studies, we have found they end up spending 13 to 24% of spend just on management. Like think of that number, 13 to 24% extra just to manage it. So this is the context of storage management. This is the problem we want to solve. We want to make sure our AI customers can move very fast, whether they are enterprises or new age startups, meet them where they are in their multi-cloud environments, if that's how they are kind of positioned, and help them make this storage management problem go away or make it very simple and shrink the problem for them. So this is the problem. Again, Storage continues to grow. Scale of object storage is extremely high compared to other services in the cloud, and it's not easy to build custom management tools. So the product we have introduced to help customers manage.
Guy Courier,
Yeah.
Future Research. This has been an interesting topic of discussion lately all around, like DevOps and IT, although my colleague here, Mitch, may better than me.
Yeah.
Which you're welcome to do. Why custom management? I mean, I think a lot of custom builds are custom built because it's fun, not because it has a good business purpose. You know, I'm not saying people are resistant to things like low code or whatever, just that there's less of less emphasis than maybe there should be on off-the-shelf services or off-the-shelf packages. So why highlight that as one of the problems? Number one, and number two, what's your perspective on that? Are people doing custom built more often than they should, as I'm saying?
Yeah. So look, why that's a problem is, it's very, always fun to build it the first time. But then for the next 3-5 years, when you have to manage it and maintain it, it's not fun. Like I met a customer at Cloud
But then you're stuck with it in the
Yes, I met a customer at Cloud Next, which they are trying to put the metadata of all, I guess, like 15-20 billion objects in a Postgres database. And they're saying now we are struggling with, scale, or somebody has to do the version upgrade and it fails. And, this is a company which is trying to do something in the healthcare with AI and images, and they have a lot of data. So yes, I think somehow, many of the customers, organizations, they have grown with cloud tools as it has matured, and there's a lot of custom tool. But in many cases, it doesn't work. Sometimes there's also perception that, hey, it all takes is a couple of weeks of an engineer, so it's way more cheaper. But in the end, if you look at the 3-year life cycle cost of everything, it adds up. So
and it doesn't take 2 or 3 weeks. It doesn't take the 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
It takes 2 or 3 months. I think, just one, definitely. But just one thing here is, I think also a lot of times everybody feels like the problem they're addressing or what they're discovering is unique.
Right.
They don't feel, or they start to try and find out what's out there for it, and that's a difficult process. So then they're just like, oh, well, we'll just make it. They go straight to we'll make it themselves. But John, do you have?
It's having spent a fair amount of time in the DevOps space. It's that most of that scaffolding and custom built is not product defined in an organization. So it has no home. So it becomes basically legacy immediately. And as people move, and it just becomes a real cost burden that you just don't want to be in. My question, though, is, have you published the research on those numbers?
Let me.
That would be very helpful, because I totally agree with it.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there are some industry publications on it. I'm not sure if we have published or not. But since we put it on our Cloud Next deck as well,
have a reference, so a resource.
That's a good idea. You're spot on. I'm like, this is exactly one of the problems we kind of want to solve for customers.
Also, just as a quick follow-up, because it is a large number. But I would also want to understand, when you say ops and management, is that, like, if we look at it from a technology business management point of view, like TBM Council, is this truly, is there an IT spend component? Is there a quote-unquote cloud spend component? And then what's the associated or attached labor? So those 3 legs of the stool.
Got it.
Understanding how to suss out where parameters are would be really helpful.
That's what the research will help.
Good point.
Hi, this is Mitch, also Future. Another connection point is, increasing adoption of platform engineering. They're also starting to look at the storage parts of this as part of that scaffolding, right? Of maybe they're becoming an owner, if not data ops folks. So that might be something to, if you haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, no, good point. I mean, many of at least the AI customers we have seen, very small teams trying to move very fast. And they also don't have the time or the intent or skill to be an expert in just storage.
Exactly.
Many of the enterprises, we have been around for a long time with a lot of large IT teams. They can afford to do it. Maybe they came from a VMware or some other era where there were these specializations, not with the new age companies and in the new world. And that's where it's even more important, like, hey, we don't need someone who's a pure object storage expert. It's too difficult, it takes too long. So the product which we introduced at Cloud Next just about a couple of weeks ago, hardly 2 weeks ago, I guess now, is Storage Intelligence. And this is our unified single management product to manage cloud storage at scale. Now, I want to emphasize unified because the approach we have taken is very different from our two big name competitors. We have not gone and launched point features. Many times some of our competition will have point management features with some degree of overlap and customers to figure out, should I use this, should I use that? We said we'll have one single management product, of course, with a couple of features integrated to offer an end-to-end journey. We want
when you say, okay, so I'm confused here. This is a storage management for your object offering?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so maybe I'm totally ignorant on your object storage capabilities. Don't you have one single management panel for your cloud storage?
We do. We absolutely have a single management panel or console for it.
Okay.
This is more about beyond that. For example, and I'll show a little bit of and talk about it. Like metadata is a huge thing in AI workflows. Like, let's take a simple example. I'm doing something in healthcare with AI. I have 1 million of images, and I just need to know this was model run number 174, or was it, for this particular, let's say, DNA sequencing, all this metadata.
Okay, so what you're doing is adding a bunch of functionality on top. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Kimberly Bates with Futurum.
Okay.
So what you're doing is adding a whole bunch of data management capabilities within the cloud object, the cloud storage capability.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
The base management, which is what we call like more of primitives for management, are available, part of the product, free, available, all of them, including the management console. This is more about managing at scale, which generally is a different kind of a problem set for customers. So our sharing, like this is, in our case, we have done a single management, unified management product offering all these different features. And the basic idea is analyze your storage state at scale and take actions. So a couple of features here. And the whole goal is eliminate manual storage management practices and free up the customer's team to do more business-focused problems. Build your AI apps faster, get your training and inferencing to run faster through this. Now, let me briefly talk what some of these capabilities do. Datasets is a very unique and powerful capability for customers. It takes all the metadata across your billions of objects, puts that in our BigQuery, our data warehouse, snapshot every 24 hours. So if you are running, model training runs and you want to figure out after 2 months, this particular model maybe had a bias or another issue, let me trace back which of the objects were involved in training. You could do this data set to enable that kind of a functionality. Or for many customers, if they just want to discover, where all do I have, let's say, images or objects with, let's say, cars, because I want to do a training related to that in a security camera context, you could do that. So it offers you a huge repository of all your object metadata, and then it is set up across whole organization for a customer. These are some of the cloud constructs. When customers get to do it, sometimes they struggle. Like the basic concept of organization in object storage is bucket, objects in a bucket. If we enable it bucket by bucket, it doesn't work for most customers. They have thousands, tens, thousands of buckets. We enable, let them do it with a couple of clicks, right in the org level, enable for the whole thing. So this is datasets feature. Another one, we introduced, which was very interesting for customers, is in cloud. And I think we had a very interesting discussion last time in the same panel, or some of you. Like there are multiple ways to get an object to be a public, open to internet, or private. There are multiple. Those are the 7 things. What we have done is we will check against all those 7 and come back with a definite, is it public, not public? And why? Because we keep hearing from customers, data exposure, accidental, is a huge concern for them. And in case of AI, this is their most valuable IP. The model weights in many of these things. So it's even more interesting for them. So again, very differentiated, unique capability available for customers very soon. And we just announced this feature.
And obviously it's an attribute.
Yes.
Then there is the JQ through with Nexus Tech, there's this attribute, but then there's the concept of like, what is the user experience of interacting with the attribute? So are you going to cover what that might feel like or look like for someone that's trying to understand, oh my gosh, everything is public, versus this is a discrete subset of things that are public that I need to examine further?
Sure.
Is there anything that you're doing in the metadata to determine what relative risk might be for the is public object?
At this point of time, for us, it's a little bit difficult to understand the risk. But what it'll say is, hey, we found object which is named as, let's say, training / model run important / object1.jpg, and it's public. Hopefully, with the name or metadata, that's the most common way customers look at it. They can look at it and say, okay, gosh, this should not have been public at all. And then we provide a policy called public access prevention, which is a single click, and you turn it off. So that's the way they will do it. We do have some other advanced services in Google Cloud, like service data protection, which can look within the content to understand the risk and highlight that. So yeah, that's another way to kind of look at it in this one.
So Kimberly again. Okay, so this is public is an object attribute that's within the insights data sets that you've taken a snapshot of and put into BigQuery?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So our idea is all the object metadata, put that in BigQuery, a data warehouse.
Got it.
And then along with the name and the location, which are common things customers look at, we will do this computation against 7 checks and add this extra attribute so they can use it for data exposure management. Okay, I'll keep moving. Another new capability, again within the storage intelligence, this is for the action which we introduced. It's called batch operation. To your question earlier, zero to no code, act on billions of objects. Again, from the outside in, looks simple, but when you have to go and update a billion objects, it's not easy. Things fail, some things succeed, some things don't. How do you make sure that it is performant, automatic scaling, retries, all that? We have taken care. Updating encryption key, or you want to add an object metadata. Again, let's go back to that AI example of healthcare, a customer in healthcare trying to do AI training on DNA sequence and images. How do you put, a metadata called these 500 million images were used for training run number 998. And this is what something you can do, highly scalable in a short period of time. Okay, the final capability in the action is how do you move a whole bucket from X to Y region? Again, you will hear from my colleagues some great opportunities about using anywhere cache and these other features to make your data available multiple places. But sometimes, for whatever the reason, customer says, this data which is in US West doesn't make sense for me. US East is where my TPUs, GPUs are, or from a sustainability point of view, this is the best region I want to go to. How do you move the whole bucket with just 2 commands while preserving the attributes? So extremely interesting again for customers. So again, the theme you will see across all of these are a little bit down in the detail weed capabilities, but that's what they struggle day 2 to day 10. When they bring in the data and they start working with AI training and running and all that, you need to do this maintenance here. Sometimes things happen. You have to move data. You have to, put policies, make sure it's not public. And that's where we have found customers, if they use custom homegrown tools, it takes them a lot of time, struggle, search on Google, try this, doesn't work, let's open support case, find out all that. And we want to eliminate all that and provide these ready-made tools and for customers. And again, the whole thing is packaged into one single product, which are available, all of these, and they are integrated. For example, you can take data sets to produce a list of objects which match a certain criteria, and then use batch operations to take action on them. So that's the integrated journey, very differentiated from our competition. You will not find them integrated the way we have brought this to the market.
Jay again. I appreciate the arrow showing it going from where it's going to where it is to where it's going. Is there any kind of a policy as code where you could present a geopolitical overlay? Right. This direction, but never this direction.
Right.
Yes. Is that something in terms of sovereignty that's also baked into this?
So that's like more of our base management capability. Is called custom org policy, where you could say, in my account, in my customer scenario, I'm only allowing you to use US regions. You cannot go anywhere else with your data. So that's the way you would implement it. Those are base capabilities available. And yes, customers can implement to make that. Yes, you are right.
They're automated, right? You're saying that's what you mean by policy-based, right?
Yeah, I mean, customers have to, of course, make that choice very quickly.
Yeah.
But yes,
It's
exactly.
not just a tag, is what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And this also reiterates, this is a shared responsibility discussion we're still having.
Of course, yeah. And we also have some pretty advanced, controls from a security compliance point of view. Access transparency, for example, if any of the Google folks are using or accessing data for whatever reason, giving some of those details, those are available as well.
But he makes a good point. If I'm using some automation to do this, then I'm going to have sort of grander authentication and policies. The question is, can you build policy into this solution itself? Where,
So-
like in his example, because
Yes.
you were saying it's basically an IAM problem or solution.
Well, it's something which is like an IAM built, but for cloud storage. So the usual model would be you put your policy first, and then if you use this feature, or
Right, but it's not going to be a user driving this type of process. It's
No.
probably going to be an automation
Yes.
solution, and I probably
Yes.
need that automation. I don't want to have separate every automation solution for every sort
No.
of policy. I would like a policy built into this, and I guess I'm not getting a clear answer. Is there a policy, like to his point of his question, can I build policy into this
So-
bucket relocation
Yeah.
process?
You build policy separately and first, and then this tool, or you do manual, all of them will, adhere to the policy. So if somebody wants to do a policy, do a
Yeah,
transfer, which
We're
is
not connecting on the question, because you're saying it goes back to the authentication policies. It's not the product itself.
It's built in. It's not an authentication policy. It's more like saying, in my customer scenario, don't allow any data in Europe, let's say.
Right.
Once you put the policy, and even somebody wants to try to do this tool, it will block it. Say it doesn't meet the
Right, but some, that gets back to, and I know I'm wasting too much time here, but
Sure.
like there'll be lots of different policies. This group can move it here, that group can't. This group can only move from here to there. In a large enterprise,
Yes.
this kind of data can't be there.
Got
And
it.
I guess that's where this is the last time I'll ask.
Sure.
Can I build that kind of policy into
Not
bucket
here,
reloc-
but in
yeah,
our
okay.
IAM.
The answer
tool.
I was looking for? Okay,
Yes.
good. All right.
Awesome.
So Jim Sprinsky, Zero Defect
Yeah.
Computing. And another question, this is a little esoteric, but it happens.
Uh-huh.
Let's say someone deletes a CSV file, some images, whatever, that have been used to train or do inferencing in a
Yeah.
model because of GDPR.
Right.
That data has to be removed from a model,
Right.
for example.
Yes.
Would this product, as well as the last slide that you presented, would you be able to actually say, oh, we've got an issue specifically because someone has requested this, it must happen under GDPR?
Right.
It's a great question. So before you jump into that, Manjul, maybe in the interest of time, jump to the demo for
Yeah.
the showing something related to what you're asking about,
Excellent.
but finding exactly what objects have metadata associated with them to do a particular action.
And that was my next question.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So what you see is, in fact, the management console, which you asked about previously. This is the standard Google Cloud Storage console. And right here, you have the storage intelligence. Of course, step one, like I was saying, very easy to enable it. Couple of clicks, enable it for the whole project or for the whole organization. So simple for administrators to do it. And once you have done, you get this data and insights, data sets, again, 1 or 2 steps. What do you want to configure? And once the data is there, I'm showing you one of our Looker dashboards where all the data flows in. So look at that. How many objects I have across how many objects, how is it, broken down by different applications, storage classes, and you could have custom metadata here as well. For example, training run 1, training run 2. Like here we have put something like, okay, these are warehouse images, product blueprint. Again, depending on the customer scenario, appropriate thing will show up. So look at that, growth charts, and then breakdown. And once you know that, you could essentially kind of zoom in into any of them, put any conditions, filters, and locate what exactly you're looking for. I want to find out only the product blueprints which are in certain category in a certain region. You could do that. So this is the way it kind of flows. All your metadata available in one place. And then after that, you could do the appropriate actions on that. So with that, I'll quickly go back last 2 slides and kind of finish it over here. We have had some great, success with some of our leading customers. Anthropic, using storage intelligence to manage 85 billion plus of their objects and optimizing their storage infrastructure. They've been a huge proponent and found success with this product. Spotify, one again of our largest customers, using storage intelligence to again look at their data infrastructure, storage infrastructure, and make sure they make the right decisions. I'll skip some of this. 8 of the top 10 cloud storage customers are using storage intelligence. Though it's a very new product, we were in preview for a couple of months. But again, just to indicate, this is how the value prop has resonated with customers. And we just offered a free trial for our customers at Cloud Next for a great way to get them started. So I'll pause at that and very happy to take any more questions. I got a little bit rushed on the demo, but hopefully I communicated what I meant. Yes.
In the Spotify example, you had non-compliant. How do you determine non-compliant? And then we'll follow on that question. Can I look for objects that don't have metadata? That's from an audit perspective. That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah. Let me answer your second one first. I'll come to the first one. So every object has some standard metadata, which is like inbuilt.
Right, but so no organizational metadata.
Yeah.
So tell me like it's system of record data or it's, yeah.
Correct. So that, of course, as a custom data, metadata customers have to feed in. Most of them, when they are writing the object, that's itself the call, the API or the program will have these extra custom metadata. Like whatever is your AI application will write it. But yes, even if you don't have this custom metadata, the rest will come through. But
what I'm asking is, can I look for objects that don't have metadata? That don't have organizational metadata?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, I missed your first part was about Spotify.
Oh, you had Spotify, you had non-compliant and compliant. So
again, looking at their policies, for example, we should not have any data in this location or anything which is, for example, a financial customer, not Spotify.
So that was their determination.
Yes, their determination,
not ours. Storage intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I had another question there, maybe?
Yeah, I see the number there. This is $2.50 per million objects.
Yes.
Okay, this is what the base cost is. Is there additional cost for using BigQuery, or is that all included?
Yes. So we take care of loading the data, but if some customers are running BigQuery queries, they will pay for the slot charges. So that's come extra. So there's a standard fee for the product, which is at $2.50. And then depending on the feature, there are 1 or 2 additional cost items. It's on a pricing page.
Okay.
But yes, BQ, yes.
Is there some place to get documentation on this? Or?
Yeah, it's public. So if you just search for Cloud Storage Intelligence, or I'm happy to share back, you could find it. It's a public offering, so all the docs are there. Yeah.
So Bart Jongens from Bitcom. So you started with it's all about storage management. Now you're adding that intelligence in there as well. Is that only on the data in the buckets of your cloud, or is it? We live in a hybrid world, so there are also other buckets where I can have data, or maybe even on-prem. Do you have integrations there with your own on-prem solutions or
no,
other?
Right now, it's only on Google Cloud Storage. We don't extend into other clouds and all. But a little bit of intelligence, I ran out of time, but it's there in the slide deck, is what we have introduced at Next is our vision here is where, again, with customer approval and permission, we will look into the object content to detect some of these, what is there inside, and help customers then make automatic determinations. So that's a vision where we want to make the storage really smart. For example, if an object has, let's say, a car or a truck driver, we will make those determinations and help customers make those. So that's where we think more of the smartest or the intelligence piece will come through.
Yeah, because you were talking, for instance, about medical imaging.
Yes.
I have a few customers, but in that sector, but they say, I'm not going to put my medical images in a public cloud. It's got to be in my data center. So maybe you should think as well for some solutions there then.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, eventually, as we mature it on this platform, yes, the idea would be to take it to our other platforms as well, for sure. Yeah.